Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, everything shifts. Because out of nowhere, Taehyung has finally spoken up about his connection with Jungkook and about the break that shook K-pop to its core. Before we step into the heart of the storm, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the truth behind the headlines. This story doesn't begin with rumors or paparazzi leaks. It begins with something much quieter, a single honest moment that slipped through the noise of the industry. It was subtle, almost gentle, but powerful enough to set the fandom on fire. One comment, one expression, one shift in Taehyung's tone, and suddenly, ARMY was spiraling. Call it a confession, call it a glimpse into his heart. Call it a crack in the mask he's worn for years. Whatever it was, one thing is certain, this wasn't V, the idol, speaking. This was Taehyung, the person behind the spotlight, the young man who grew up with millions watching, cheering, judging, and speculating about every breath he took. For years, fans have wondered about the unspoken dynamic between Taehyung and Jungkook. Not cheap tabloid drama, but something deeper, emotional, intense. The way they laughed together, the way they moved on stage, the way their silence carried more weight than their words. People sensed a bond beyond friendships formed under normal circumstances. Yet neither of them addressed it directly. Not until now. Picture the scene. Backstage after a concert. The faded glow of yellow lights. The echo of fans still chanting outside even though the show has ended. Taehyung sits alone, hands loosely clasped, breathing slow but heavy, the kind of breath a person takes when they're ready to say something real. His voice is steady, soft, but layered with a vulnerability he rarely shows. There's something people keep asking, he murmurs, almost to himself. Maybe it's time to answer. But what exactly was he ready to answer? What question had been hanging over him for so long? To understand his words, we have to go back years. To the early BTS days, before fame, before arenas, before they became global icons. Back when Taehyung and Jungkook were just two young trainees in a small dorm, grinding through practice, exhaustion, uncertainty, and dreams too huge to speak out loud. Their connection wasn't born in front of cameras. It grew in cramped rooms at 3 a.m. It grew through shared meals, shared fears, shared victories, and the kind of pressure that only people on the same impossible path can understand. As they grew older, the world saw flashes of something between them, something gentle yet powerful, undefined yet undeniable. But it was never a scandal. It was never the romantic fantasies the internet projected onto them. It was a connection shaped by years of surviving and rising together in a world that tried to define both of them before they could define themselves. So why speak now? Taehyung hinted that it wasn't just about Jungkook. It was about reclaiming his identity. About stepping out of narratives the world forced onto him. About how his need for space, a simple human need, exploded into wild speculation. The truth is, he said, sometimes I needed room to breathe. And people assumed it meant something else. And with that, he peeled back another layer. In K-pop, stepping back is often seen as rebellion. Resting is seen as distancing. A quiet moment becomes a headline. A break becomes an accusation. Taehyung's desire for space turned into an avalanche of theories, many involving Jungkook. But he wasn't frustrated, he was clear. He was calm. He spoke like someone who had finally separated who he truly is from the roles the world assigned him. And when he mentioned Jungkook directly, everything changed. His tone softened. His expression shifted. His voice warmed. He explained that Jungkook had always known the real him, the him beneath the makeup, the expectations, and the global persona. And that's why their connection lasted through everything, not because of rumors, but because of trust, time, and shared history. Then came the line that sent the fandom into shock. I stepped back from a lot of things, Taehyung said quietly. Not because of him, but because I needed to find myself again. Those words cracked open a door the world never expected him to open. If he was searching for himself, what did he discover? What did he leave behind? And where does Jungkook fit into this new understanding? But the biggest twist was yet to come. Taehyung didn't just talk about relationships. He spoke about K-pop itself, with honesty sharp enough to cut through the glossy image of the industry. He described burnout with a poetic kind of sadness, like a star dimming not because it lacked brilliance, but because it was forced to shine too brightly, too fast, for too long. His break from K-pop wasn't running away. It was survival. And during that break, something shifted inside him. Something that changed the way he saw himself, Jungkook, and the future of the group. Something he wasn't fully ready to reveal, at least, not yet. Taehyung said that stepping away brought a kind of silence he hadn't felt in years. Not loneliness, silence. A silence that forced him to confront the questions he avoided for so long. Who am I when the stage is gone? Who am I without the persona? What happens when the world stops watching? And then he addressed what fans have debated for years, once and for all. Jungkook and I are part of each other's story, he said. Not the way people imagine, but in the way that matters. We grew together. We learned together. And we're still learning. It wasn't romance. It wasn't distance. It was something deeper, a bond shaped by time, struggle, growth, and unspoken understanding. He ended with something that felt like both a promise and a rebirth. I'm not leaving. I'm transforming. And with that, Taehyung's story unfolded not as gossip, but as the portrait of a man reclaiming his truth, fearless, honest, and stepping into a new era on his own terms. Then came one final hint, a hint that the real story isn't about separation or reunion at all. Maybe the real story is evolution. A growth the whole world is about to witness.